Hey everyone, and welcome to our newest explainer. I am absolutely pumped to dive into today's topic with you. We are looking at a force of nature that is just so immense, so incredibly dynamic, and honestly, so world-shaping that it practically defies human comprehension. We're talking, of course, about the Pacific Ocean. But as we'll see, this monumental body of water has been hiding behind a pretty deceiving name.
Okay, let's get right into it, starting with a fact that absolutely boggles my mind every time I hear it. Think about every single continent, island, and piece of dry land on Earth. Asia, Africa, the Americas, Europe, Antarctica, Australia, the whole shebang. If you took all of that and dropped it right into the Pacific Basin, it would all fit. And not just barely fit, there would literally still be plenty of room left over. That is the kind of incomprehensible scale we are dealing with today.
Now, because it is so incredibly massive, if you're just standing on a sandy beach looking out at the horizon, the Pacific can seem, well, incredibly tranquil. But don't let that fool you. That is a powerful illusion. Which raises the central mystery of our explainer today. What hidden violence actually lurks beneath the surface of the world's largest, supposedly peaceful ocean?
To answer that, we're kicking things off with Section 1, the Peaceful Sea Paradox. We really need to understand how this giant got its name and why that moniker is, historically and geologically speaking, completely ironic.
63.8 million. That is the approximate number of square miles this ocean covers. It is literally stretching all the way from the freezing Arctic region in the far north straight down to the icy margins of the Antarctic in the south.
To really put that massive number into perspective, the Pacific Ocean alone makes up about 32%, so nearly a full third of the Earth's entire surface area. It holds roughly 46% of our planet's total water surface. It is, hands down, the defining geographical feature of our globe.
So you've got to ask, how did a body of water that is totally capable of producing violent typhoons and shifting whole tectonic plates get labeled peaceful? Well, we can trace that right back to Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan. Back in 1520, Magellan was trying to find a route through South America. His ships were getting absolutely battered by incredibly rough waters, almost destroyed actually. But then, he finally navigated through a strait and popped out into a much calmer patch of unfamiliar ocean. Hugely relieved, he named it Mar Pacific, or Peaceful Sea. Talk about speaking too soon. Magellan's brief little experience of calm was a complete myth compared to the violent reality of its extreme weather and geologic volatility.
And here is a real curveball for you. Despite being the largest ocean on Earth, the Pacific is actually getting smaller. Seriously, because of the intense tectonic plate movements happening deep underwater, 3 sides of the Pacific Basin are currently shrinking by about 1 inch annually. Meanwhile, the Atlantic Ocean is actually growing.
That tectonic movement brings us directly to Section 2, the Ring of Fire. We're going to check out the geologic borders of the Pacific to uncover the violent, fiery activity constantly reshaping our planet.
So exactly how violent is this supposedly peaceful sea? Spoiler alert, when we look past those rolling waves, the edges of the Pacific hide a level of geologic destruction you literally won't find anywhere else on Earth. The data really speaks for itself here. Get this, an astounding 90% of all the world's earthquakes happen right here. They occur within this massive 40,000-kilometer tectonic belt that completely surrounds the Pacific Ocean basin. It's basically made up of different tectonic plates constantly colliding and sliding under one another in what geologists call subduction zones.
And the really crucial takeaway is that these intense subduction zones don't just produce frequent earthquakes, they produce the absolute biggest ones. The 4 most powerful earthquakes ever recorded by modern instruments? Yeah, all of them occurred right on the Ring of Fire. We're talking about the devastating 9.4 to 9.6 magnitude quake in Valdivia, Chile back in 1960, plus massive shocks in Alaska, Japan, and Russia. This is exactly what happens when oceanic plates grind underneath continental plates, building up an insane amount of energy before finally snapping.
But wait, the Ring of Fire isn't just shaking. It is actively exploding. It hosts somewhere between 750 and 915 active or dormant volcanoes. That is roughly 2/3 of the world's total. In fact, the 4 largest volcanic eruptions in our current geologic epoch all happened right here. Oh, and as if that wasn't extreme enough, this exact same tectonic collision creates the deepest points on Earth, like the Mariana Trench, which plunges an unbelievable 35,797 feet below sea level.
All right, from the fiery depths of those tectonic plates, let's completely shift gears to the freezing northern edge of the Pacific. Welcome to Section 3,
Beringia, the Ice Age Bridge. This is where ice and shifting sea levels totally changed the history of both animals and humans. So during the last ice age, sea levels were vastly lower because so much water was just locked up in massive glaciers. And this exposed a huge piece of land called Beringia, connecting Siberia to Alaska. But honestly, scratch the idea of some narrow little walking path. Beringia was practically a subcontinent. It was about 1,600 kilometers, that's 1,000 miles wide from north to south, featuring a dry, cold steppe environment, a lot like the plains of Central Asia today. And because it was this open, largely ice-free steppe, Beringia was just teeming with giant animals. Incredible Ice Age megafauna. We're talking woolly mammoths, steppe bison, massive American lions, woolly rhinoceroses. They all roamed this huge land bridge. And of course, these animals served as a vital food source, which ended up drawing ancient human hunters right into this isolated region.
Oh, and this ecosystem created one of the wildest evolutionary facts you will ever hear. When you think of camels, you probably think of the deserts of Asia or the Middle East, right? Well, paleontological evidence shows that camel ancestors actually evolved in North America. They used the Bering Land Bridge to migrate westward into Asia. I know, totally counterintuitive, but it just shows how vital this Pacific crossing was for global wildlife. Now, the human journey across this frozen Pacific frontier was not a quick trip. It took thousands of years. A small population actually survived the harsh ice age, completely isolated in Beringia for up to 17,000 years because their path forward was blocked by massive glaciers. But then, roughly 16,500 years ago, the ice finally started to recede, which allowed these incredibly resilient people to migrate southward and populate the Americas. Eventually, as the ice melted and sea levels rose, Beringia sank back beneath the waves about 6,000 years ago, taking its secrets straight to the bottom of the Pacific.
Okay, so we've seen how the ancient natural forces of the Pacific shaped humanity, but now we unfortunately have to shift to Section 4, the Great Garbage Patch, because today, humanity's modern forces are actively and devastatingly shaping the ocean. 1.8 trillion. Just take a second to wrap your head around that number. The vastness of the Pacific has made it this amazing waterway connecting continents, but sadly, it's also made it a massive sink for human pollution. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is this rapidly growing vortex of trash that currently covers an area larger than the entire country of France. It contains over 1.8 trillion pieces of plastic debris, weighing an estimated 80,000 metric tons.
And the impact of this? It is absolutely devastating. The UN Ocean Conference delivered this heavy, honestly chilling prediction. There will be more plastics in the world's oceans than fish. This pollution is a massive existential threat. The plastic leaches harmful substances that infect the entire food chain, and the physical debris itself traps and kills wildlife. Right now, over 700 marine species, from sea lions and turtles to dolphins and seabirds, are actively threatened by this plastic pollution.
Which brings us to a final, really heavy question that affects every single one of us. Can the peaceful sea survive the plastic age? The Pacific Ocean is an absolute titan of nature. It holds the world's deepest trenches, its most violent volcanoes, and a history that birthed continents and shaped human civilization itself. It is definitely far from peaceful, but it is also deeply, deeply fragile. Whether this monumental, dynamic ocean can actually endure humanity's modern impact, well, that is entirely up to us. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I really hope this leaves you curious, engaged, and eager to learn more about the incredible forces shaping our world.